It's the koi pond, and guess what, Dre? This guy, I don't want to say I discovered him because I discovered him for myself. How's that? I saw this cat when I was in LA, and it was like in between my tour, right? And I just wanted to do like an open mic at like some, like, you know, like an open mic in a weird bar. I forgot where it was, but it was far. And my friend brought me there. There's like a pool table in the middle of this place. Everyone's sitting around the pool table, and there's a stage to the right. It's the most awkward setting you could possibly think of, right? You don't want to go up. And then Matteo goes up, and my mouth drops.
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy is fucking funny. And then he leaves. I just remember him vanishing. I'm just like, whoa, that was cool. He just walked by me. Just kind of walked right past me, and I was so mad at myself that I didn't get his name. I remember I was going to get his name, but I don't know what happened. I was talking to somebody, and then you just vanished. I thought you were going to be there for the remainder of the night. I was going to talk to you. And then all of a sudden, about 6 months later, Matteo, your Netflix special came on, where it's like it was like a bunch of comics on the same special. And there he was, the guy I saw at the shitty bar. And I go, that's his name, Matteo. And then I reached out to you, and I told you how funny you were, and I told you I would love to work with you someday because you're just that amazing, man. So I can't wait for. Well, I mean, things are already taken off for you already, but I'm just saying I can't wait for you to be like household because you're that close. You're amazing.
I mean, you're so
nice.
You've been so nice to me. I'm like shocked. I'm like, okay, well, a very famous, talented comedian is saying all these nice things to me. So I don't know. You know how to like accept that. So I'm just like, thank you. Yeah. My instinct as a Catholic is to apologize.
Yeah. I was at lunch with Joanne over at Netflix, and she was like, who do you think is one of the up and coming cats that you think are real? And I said Matteo right off the bat. Matteo, man. This dude he needs his hour. He needs his hour now.
That's
He's that
nice.
good.
Yeah, well, what we can all hope and dream.
Nah, I say this all the time. I don't believe in hope. I always take that word is the only word that doesn't exist in my what is it? Dictionary?
Vocabulary.
What do I say? What do I say, Dre?
Vocabulary.
There you go. In my vocabulary. Obviously, vocabulary doesn't go in my vocabulary. I don't like to say hope. I don't like to say hope because hope means there's room for failure. Hope means, you know what, it doesn't look good, but I hope it works. No, man, like you're amazing and it's coming. It's either this year or next year, but it's coming. And it's going to be amazing when it does. It's going to be, it's going to be amazing, Matteo. I think you're so funny. One thing I don't like is you wearing tank tops and doing something like this. Yeah, and then it's just an automatic flex.
You don't need that.
Don't do that around two old dudes.
You don't need that.
I do. I'm gay.
That.
I need it. If I don't have it, I won't survive. It's a different landscape for us.
I was so mad when Dre when Matteo goes, I don't know, and then fucking started. He was like, I don't know, and it was just definition.
I don't like that. Don't think for a second that wasn't intentional, Joe.
Yeah. He did hold his hands a little tight. They're a little tight.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? How is it in New York right now?
New York is feeling more normal. I mean, spring has sprung, and the trees are out, the weather's nice, and people are sort of living their lives in the streets again. Shows are open. I'm back at the Cellar, so it's almost like, because it's been a year, it's like, oh, did anything happen? I mean, obviously mask wearing, limited capacity, but truly a lot farther ahead than we were 2 months ago.
Indoor dining,
and now we have we've had for the past year like this weird outdoor dining. So there's just the mini restaurant outside the restaurant. So I guess because it's not technically inside the restaurant, that even though it's indoors but on the street, it's not indoors. So it's outdoor. All of it doesn't make any sense. But everywhere you go
Yeah,
in New
none of
York,
it
there's
makes
just like a
sense.
weird makeshift like elf village outside of a restaurant that people eat in. Pods, people are eating in pods.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people wanted to know how New York was doing because, you know, that's the city. That's the city the world visits. You know what I mean? And when it got shut down, no one knew what was going on. Like I just heard that it was you know, because I got friends that live there, uh, that it's just not the same anymore. Or don't come. They would always go, don't come here. Don't come here. Was it that bad? Was it really that bad?
I would say that it was sort of in stages. So first, when it happened, the whole city was just, I mean, it was empty. And I remember seeing those photos because at the time I was living in the Upper East Side, so it was like me and everyone else was in their early hundreds, so they've already been living in a quarantine. But when it happened, all those photos of empty Midtown. So I went and walked through Midtown because I was like, I just have to experience what this looks like. And I'm sure you have both been to New York and you've been by Times Square, empty. I was the only one on the street, completely empty. And
Where did you take pictures being in there in that eerie, weird look?
no, I'm shockingly one of those gays. I don't take a lot of pictures. I don't know why. I'm like
You should
the
have done
pictures.
that.
Ah,
Oh,
well, there's better photographers who did it. You know, that's on NB. Go to you know my what is my shitty picture gonna do? Because you it's just gonna be a bodega that no one's inside stealing. All right, you know, I'd rather see these like sort of epic photos where it's like a cloudy day and there's one UPS guy on a street than my shitty ass photo of like deli
Yeah.
grocery.
and half of
But it was I will say like New York last summer. Yeah, I'm sure there were a lot of it was a lot of change in the sense that all the rich people left and then all the rich kids left and so the city was just New Yorkers and the people who had intention to be here. The Chelsea and Hell's Kitchen I think had a lot of issues, but I live in the Village and I just hung out at the Cellar every day and sort of it was very neighborhoody and very New Yorky and I had a nice summer last summer. I would
Really?
say it was I would say the first time as a New Yorker, you know, like I was talking to my friends who live in Italy, and my friend Francesco Di Carlo, a great comedian in Italy, said it was the first time Italy finally had Italy back to itself. Obviously, the amount of death doesn't warrant that kind of like this is so great, but just saying as a fact, it's strange to sort of be in a city with with the city that it's meant to be with the people in it, not
Yeah.
German tourists like where can I get up, you know.
Yeah. So is it starting to thrive again? Or people starting to come back to New York and
Oh,
visit?
yeah, it's there's well, I also live in the Village, so it's always kind of bumping. Like there's always like Euro trash driving down the street, revving their engines, and
Yeah.
you know, eating at the crepe place. But yeah, I don't know. It feels definitely more alive than it
Yeah.
did a year ago. But I think it's just because everything's opening back up, so people are excited to like enjoy the city again.
Yeah. Good. Well, all right. That's enough of that. I don't want you to be the ambassador of New York. That's not what this pod is all about. So, how's New York, Matteo? I want to know. The world wants to know how New York is, and I got just the guy to tell us. Um,
Yeah.
one thing people don't know about Matteo, and if you do know Matteo, then you know. But yo, your graphic designing and your character work and your cartoon drawings are fucking unreal, bro. Is that what you
Thanks.
wanted to do first, or was it stand up?
It's what I did for a long time. I used to be a fashion illustrator and storyboard artist for TV commercials for years. I went to School of the Art Institute of Chicago, studied painting and drawing. I lived in Italy painting, and then I got a job illustrating commercials, and then that inevitably led me to New York. And I had just started to do open mics in Chicago, so I just started doing open mics in New York, and then I think like a year into it, I was already put on like a couple MTV shows and doing stand up regularly. So I just quit my day job. It was very risky, but I was like, I'd rather just quit my day job and do stand up. And so I did.
So you wanted to be a comic when you moved to New York, or no?
Yes, when I moved to New York, because I had just gotten a taste of it in Chicago, my buddy had a drawing gig for me here and was like, would you want to move to New York? You have 30 days. And in my mind, I was like, great, I'll use this as an excuse to pay for rent. And then at night, I'll just do open mics. And I did. I mean, it really, it truly worked out the way I kind of planned it.
That's crazy. And then you landed a couple gigs like right in that first year that you were there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I got Montreal. So my very first
What the
year
fuck?
auditioning.
What the
I know.
fuck, dude?
I know.
Took me 13 years to get Montreal.
I was, to be fair, I mean, I think that it's always better to wait. That being said, I had a good experience with Montreal, but looking back, I was only a year and a couple months into stand up when I got it. So, I mean, it
Got
really,
Montreal new faces.
yeah.
You got new faces? What?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's very impressive. I will say this. It wasn't 13. I was 13 years into my career, but it took me 3.5 years to get in. They
Mm.
kept passing on me, passing on me, passing on me. And you get it your first fucking year in stand up.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a fun experience. It was cool. I mean, the good things that came from that were I got Girl Code and Guy Code, which were these really popular MTV shows at the time. The downside of stuff like that is, you can get a little bit of a swelled head and then not have the material to back it up because of lack of experience. And it was a bigger learning curve for me to start growing and maturing as a joke writer. When I went after Montreal, then had I just waited and got it 3 years later, I mean, it all sort of evened out, and I'm happy with how it went down. But it can be getting things too early can also just not be good for you.
Yeah, I say that too, man. Sometimes yeah, when you get stuff a little early, you're not prepared for the big wave. And but you held up well. Shit. Like how many years has it been since then?
Now I think I've been doing stand up for 9 years.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So
So
when you
I
got
feel very
that,
comfortable in my voice and my writing.
yeah, isn't that crazy when you finally find that? It's crazy, right? I remember when I first started stand up and this one comic, he goes, "Yeah, man, you got about 10 years to find your voice." And I was like, "Who's this fucking guy? I'm going to find it tomorrow. I'll find that voice tomorrow. You're just mad that I killed tonight." That was my attitude. And then about 11 years in, I'm like, "Oh, this is what he meant."
Well, I think sometimes when you're like, I think sometimes, for example, being gay, right? So I think doing stand up, people were sort of impressed that I had a quote unquote voice early on. But I think a lot of that also comes with having to rationalize and deal with who I was as a young child and, basically being an observer since I was 6. So I was a little ahead of the game in that sense, but that doesn't mean that I'm a great joke writer yet. It just means that I'm comfortable on stage. So, you kind of have to sort of, like, some people could be great joke writers, but they don't particularly have a voice. They don't know who they are. Who are they presenting? What are they presenting? What are they exporting? So I guess everyone has their own way of going about things. But generally speaking, I think when you talk to either people of color or gay people, queer people, generally speaking, we all seem to have a little bit more self-awareness of who we are and the things we want to talk about because, again, we're a little bit more on the outside of society and we just are already observing more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say that you made a great point that if you have to spend your whole existence exploring who you are, especially starting from a kid, if you're any kind of any minority group, it lends to like finding your voice early for sure. That makes a lot
Right.
of sense.
Yeah. That makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense. I never looked at it that way.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's one thing that annoys me too is when people go, "Hey man, why do you talk about your mom?" And I'm like, "Because no one in fucking America is."
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever felt that feeling before of being not represented? Being able to change every channel on the TV and not ever hear your fucking voice? Do you know how lonely that is not to have an identity or a voice representing you? Like, I don't understand why people are so quick to say that as if it doesn't mean anything. It's like, and it's
Well,
usually from a person that dominates. It's like, it's like a
sure.
white person. It's like, hey, motherfucker, every show is white. You have a voice in everything.
I think it's two things. I mean, one, I didn't see gay people growing up. I mean, besides
At
like
all.
Jafar or like C3PO. But I think the other thing too is like if the standard, and this is in giant quotations, if the standard of a certain art form, so this is stand-up comedy, was quote unquote created by white dudes who are straight, then anything else that's not that, no matter how long it's been going on, has to live up to this quote unquote standard. So they have made the rules. They can do whatever they want. They can say what they want. If you're a woman, if you're Black, if you're Asian, if you're gay, if you're whatever, we always have to sort of wrestle with this idea of how much, like I'm sure both of you have, where you get on stage and you think, okay, how much am I going to talk about being gay tonight? Or how much am I going to talk about that? And you're just trying to rationalize with a standard that doesn't apply to you. So I've gotten on stage now and I'm like, I don't care. Like if people are like, oh, his material's too gay. Well, you know what's crazy? I'm really gay. And I'm not putting, you know what I mean? It's like, I like Streisand, I like anal, I like drag queens, you know what? Like, this is just the life that I live. And I think the longer people sort of go about and realizing that whatever people talk about on stage is okay, then we can have an easier time accepting other comics and not judging them for talking too much this or too much that. It's like, nah, I'm just sort of living my life and chatting about it.
Yeah, but what is too much? I don't understand that. Like, I don't get it. It's like, hey man, we're allowed to talk about whatever we want. And it's funny as funny, dude. Like, when I hear your stories, I just laugh. Like, they're all funny stories, no matter what you're talking about. And if you're gonna sit there and act like you can't relate to it, that's another thing that annoys the shit out of me. When people go, oh, I don't get it. I'm not gay, so I don't get it. Well, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? What are you talking about? What does gay have to do with anything? You know what it is. You know, you can relate to it. Don't act like because you're straight, you don't like anal.
Right.
Stop. 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 That has nothing to do with gay.
I know.
I think it's annoying. Maybe
it's getting better. It's getting. I would say from 10 years of doing stand-up to like from then to now, audiences have really come around. I mean, obviously when I go on the road, it's more queer-oriented audiences. But in the city, when I'm performing every night, they're just whoever, Joe Schmo, coming and buying a ticket and wanting to see comedy, and I feel accepted. I feel, I get moments. Actually, in Arizona this weekend, it was hysterical. This guy in the front row was with his wife. I walk on stage and said something about being gay, and he goes, "What?" And I looked and I said, "Oh," I go, "Do you not like gay people?" He goes, "No." I said, "Oh," and I said, because usually women like gays. So I looked at his wife. I was like, "Do you like gay people?" And she goes, I said,
what?
I was like, "All right." I was like, "You guys probably want to go." And then he left. But as he was leaving, I was like, you got to do some research. I mean, that's like buying a ticket to see Star Wars and 5 minutes in being like, I hate space. Like, you just can't function this way.
Wow, that's crazy you experienced that.
Yeah, I get that a bunch. There's people who I'd also rather be told the truth. If you don't like gay people and that's why you're leaving, then just say that. I don't like I have to go. This is what we thought. There's everyone trying to tiptoe around. I'm like, just say what you think, and then I can at least respect you for that instead of lying. So at least he said his truth.
Yeah, well, that's very ignorant. That sucks. That's around still.
That's a weird thing to have.
Go ahead, Andre.
No, I was just saying it's a weird thing to have to buy. I assume they knew you were on the marquee and all that stuff, right? Like they knew.
And I could not look gayer. There's a giant picture of this face.
Going to.
Right. The audience was all gay. I was like, what about this face makes you think like I'm talking pussy tonight? Like, no. I'm clearly going to be talking about the British Bake Off. Like, I don't know what you think I'm doing up here.
Yeah, man. That's so funny. There's a human rainbow inside this venue.
And an actual rainbow. So
an actual rainbow.
Really...
You know what you should do, Matteo? You should make a cartoon.
I made one with Bob the drag queen. We're actually we actually just sold it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to talk about it?
I don't actually know if we can or can't, but I'll just say this. We have an Instagram account called Kick-Ass Drag Queen. I did all the drawings, Bob did all the writing, and we created it together. And it's a drag queen superhero. That's funny.
That's funny, dude. And you sold it. Hopefully it'll get picked up, man. I mean, you sold it.
I mean, fingers crossed, it's a whole process. You know TV land. Nothing's
Did I
ever
say
fast
hope?
and nothing
I
ever
take
works.
that back. Did I say hope?
Yes, you did.
Fuck, I take that back. I can't wait to watch it.
Okay, work. I'm gonna live by that mantra.
Yeah, man. Take it back. Even if you accidentally say it like I did, take it back right away. It'll be on. I'm trying to get my cartoon on it as well. It's hard, dude. When you see cartoons and animation on TV, people need to bow down in respect because it is hard.
It's
I don't
all.
get
I
it,
mean,
man.
luckily, I'm able to. I did like 500 drawings. We get characters back. You know, like that part's easy because I don't have to explain to an artist what I see. The hard part is getting people to, well, we did. We sold it. We did. Everything's hard in this business. Like trying to sell an hour. You know what I mean? Like I was telling somebody, like hopefully one day, like there's an openly gay male comedian with a quote unquote classic stand-up hour that exists, but I there's no openly gay male comic who's like a household name yet. There's a bunch of super talented comics like Solomon Giorgio and Julio Torres and Joel Kim Booster and really awesome talented people, but like none of Ellen DeGeneres stature yet.
Give me Matteo.
We'll
I already
see.
called it.
But I do like that there's so many cool different like gay queer comics doing comedy just like in mainstream comedy. I think it's exciting. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a great time. Fortune Feimster is a friend of mine, and seeing her and she's just getting booked because she's funny, and that's how it should be.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
I never understood theme shows. Oh, hey, we got 4 gay guys. We're gonna call it the Rainbow Comedy Tour. Makes no fucking sense to me, man.
There's also a place for that, like there's definitely room for all of it, right? Because there's some people who totally, yeah, like there's Brad Lockley, who's a friend of mine, is a really funny comic, and he performs, I would say, mainly in gay circuits. You know what I mean? In other words, like he's doing cruises and this and that. And he's just so funny and talented. Like there's definitely space for all of it. But I would like to, I don't know. I guess whatever appeals to you as a comic. I'm trying not to put my foot in my mouth.
You look into a room and you know for a fact there's every human is in there is being represented when you look into a room, and to sit there and act like it's not is weird to me. It's like you can look into a room of 2,000 people and go, there's a lot of gay people here tonight. There's a lot of Asians here tonight. There's a lot of Black people here tonight. So everyone's going to kill tonight,
Right.
And that's how we need to start looking at things like that. Because I came up during a time where, when they knew that I was talking about my mom, I could only do the Asian themed shows. They wouldn't put me on anything else. And it used to I get mad, but then I was like happy because at least I'm at the Laugh Factory.
Right. I get that 100%. And again, it's a struggle between us because you're not saying you're ashamed of being Asian, and I'm not saying I'm ashamed of being gay, but it's also, you start to feel bad for wanting what everyone, like, I want to do shows, but I don't want to only just do this one thing. I want my humor to be for everybody. And it's a very weird thing to go back and forth because you feel almost self-hating sometimes, but you're trying to transcend that.
Yep.
And I think people, I've definitely dealt with a lot of internalized homophobia, and I think some people can either be really turned off by it or turned on by it. But again, the things that I think like I don't know, like a Jerry Seinfeld doesn't understand or have to deal with, right? It's like there's no dual persona, there's no box they're putting him in, it just is. Yeah. So we're always like, am I too much this? I don't know am I disappointing my community? It's like, we're just so.
You're always also feeling like you have this obligation to whatever community or group you belong to represent and keep that representation strong. But I think what people from the outside looking in don't get is that is the representation. The fact that you want to transcend that and represent across the board is the actual representation. And you have to and sometimes you have to take the bullet for it. You know what I mean? Like
sometimes all the time. Because if I'm the only gay guy that someone sees doing stand-up, right, on a show, then I am the only gay, and they're gonna be like, well, I don't talk like that, I don't look like that, I don't share that's it, you don't represent me. And it's like, I'm not trying to, I'm just trying to be myself. It's so frustrating.
But you know what's annoying about that, Matteo, is that when they say stuff like that, because they do say that. What you're saying right there is not an exaggeration of how people react. That's literally how they act. And what I hate about that is you don't have any gay friends. You don't work with gay people. You don't have friends that talk like that. Like, you're literally saying you've never heard this before until tonight, this guy on stage. That's how you're acting.
Which
and
would be
to me, you're lying, because to sit there and act like this guy on stage doesn't relate to you is a lie, because it does relate to you. Everyone has gay friends. I have black friends. I have Asian friends. I got Asian friends with accents. I got Asian guys that have country accents. I got black guys that rap. I got black guys that act. I got Mexican guys from Mexico. I got every color, every demo you can think of. So to sit there and act like it doesn't relate to you, you're full of shit.
I know.
Did I come out right, or did I come out wrong?
No,
it came out, yeah.
And if you can't relate in any way, then maybe you should live a little more.
Well, I think too, sometimes I think of it as yes, comedy. Comedy is one of the few art forms where yes, audiences are required. I mean, you need the laughter in order to create the comedy. That also being said, there is sometimes a narcissistic point of view of the audience member to assume that the material we've written has to relate to them or has to somehow go with their belief. And it's like, well, that's not what art is. I mean, people don't go argue with a painting. They talk to each other about the painting. Right. So, if we're an artist, we should be smart. We should always be 2 steps ahead of what's happening culturally and try and comment it for the present. We're flawed. Things are hard. But it's weird that audience members, we've all had this experience where they're offended by something you say because we didn't have that person in mind when writing the joke. And it's like, but that's just not what art is. I mean, obviously it's more nuanced than that, but in a really general way, my experience in my life is the only thing that I can really filter to you. So, please, and I'm not talking about ignorance or saying like the N word or something like that. I'm not talking about stuff that's blatantly wrong. I'm just talking about people being like, why don't you talk about this? I'm this. Why? It's like, what? I didn't have you in mind. I don't know who you are. Yeah,
exactly. And as easy as it is for you to say that, it's just as easy to go, why don't you learn about this? It's that easy. Why is it so hard for you to learn about this? My culture, my people, my lifestyle, what I do. People don't want to learn that shit. They don't want to learn about it.
Oh, people are lazy.
Yeah, they're lazy. You know why it's lazy? Because I can understand getting away with that shit in the 70s and 80s and early 90s. But Google, you can Google anything in 5 seconds on your phone, man. What is gay? Oh, really?
Or even bigger, what is comedy? I think sometimes people who don't even know what stand-up is are suddenly the biggest critiques. I'm like, the people who critique stand-up comedians, I'd be like, well, who's your favorite stand-up comedian? Because I promise you, there's no stand-up comedian who's not said one flawed thing their entire life.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. Don't ever critique a stand-up comic and I won't even say unless you're a comic. We're entitled to our own opinion and our own style. I consider this art form to be multi-genre.
Yeah.
We have so many different genres, bro. There's comics that have puppets. There's comics that talk about certain things. There's political. There's singers. There's whatever. It's not all for you, and we're not all the same. And if you don't like it, find another comic.
Right.
Yeah, man. You're a beautiful guy, man.
Man, thank you. I'll put that on my Grindr profile.
I want you to. I really do, man. You're so likable. You're so funny. I love what you talk about. I just love your delivery. I love your stage presence. I love everything about you, man. I think I can't wait for that hour, bro. And
I'm telling you, not to I feel like we're just like in an LA brunch right now where everyone's, congrats, you're amazing, congrats. They're congratulating the waiter. But it does mean a lot. To me, the first form of currency in this business is the respect of your peers. And when you start in stand up and you're doing open mics and you get that one comic you respect in the back to laugh, that's more memorable than your first paycheck, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, that was our first form of currency. So to hear you say those things about me, not to blow smoke up anybody's ass, but like, you're very talented and very successful. And so times that I am feeling very down on myself and that I'm not gonna, that this is very hard, it is a huge boost of confidence. And even during the pandemic, you messaging me, if you need anything, let me know. All it does is, one, obviously in a narcissistic way, remind me I'm talented, but two, if I get to your place, right, like where you are in your career, then I will know to also treat comics that I see coming up the same way. It's a very positive, wonderful way of being.
Oh, 100%. By the way, I don't compliment every comic, by the way.
I was like, you wouldn't be a comic if you did.
Yeah. It's the ones that I really like, admire, man, and inspired by. Like, I get inspired by you. Like, I see how you get down on stage, and I'm like, okay, I gotta step it up. I gotta
step it up.
Yeah, no, I like, you know what I mean. Every guy has that. That's how we are. We're just,
right.
You
Right.
see something that inspires you, and I'm like, okay, all right, I gotta start stepping it up. I gotta get some. I gotta write some more shit. So I like that. I like watching guys that are like you. I got a handful of comics that I love to like, reach out to and tell them just how good they are, because you guys are just so good.
Thanks. That means the world.
I can't wait for your hour, man. I really can't. And then we got to make this happen.
Same. Well, what's funny is I just went back on the road and I have a brand new half hour that I built the past year from doing all these outdoor shows and putting that together, mixing that with my old hour. So now everything is like this bigger, better form of my hour. But it's also this weird time of like, all right, like everything is just so weird right now. Like, how would I even go about selling that or talking to, it's like, we're coming through out of a pandemic and it's so weird. Everything's so weird right now.
It's so weird and it's so new to everyone. No one knows what this is. We don't know the outcome. So it's just so weird, man. Like every day something new. It's just like, oh, Johnson & Johnson just got pulled off the shelves. It's like, wait, I thought we were getting saved by them. Now it's gone? Fuck!
I know.
So,
you know what I have done for this? That my mentality after the pandemic has been such as the grind that I was living in before the pandemic. I was so hard on myself and just pushing myself so much that I was not giving myself any time to enjoy being on stage, enjoy traveling, enjoy the relationships in my life, that I really have just sort of slowed everything down in the sense of like, just going to focus. Like tonight I have 2 spots at the Cellar. Great. And all the other stuff, the cartoon, the TV show I'm trying to sell, the hour, this and that, it'll happen if it happens. Right now I'm just worrying about, I'm really going to have fun on stage tonight, because a year ago I was stuck in an apartment that was so small playing Fortnite every day. I'm like, really puts perspective on it.
Yeah, appreciate the time that you have and really enjoy every moment. We, especially comics like us, we go 100 miles per hour. We don't enjoy our moments.
Right.
What the fuck, man? Like,
how many times have you done? I think Michelle Wolf was talking to me about this of like, are you going to remember the 8th show you did in, Nebraska, or are you going to remember the friend's wedding you made time to go to? Like what? Because it's like, I just did 5 shows in Arizona. I remember the jokes I liked, but I'm already forgetting each night. It's like everything becomes this grind and must get. And I'm trying to stop myself before I get in this weird cycle and be like, okay, my grandparents are really important. Keep talking to them every day. Don't worry so much about the shows. I don't know. Kind of trying to just relax a little bit.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I do want to ask you one more question. I hate to go backtrack.
Sure. I'm happy to answer anything.
Yeah. No, you've actually informed us a lot, actually. It was really good. And I loved hearing your perspective on how you came into this business. Just hearing that story about the guy saying, I don't like gay people. What the fuck kind of Like, what the fuck kind of prejudice is that? Like, I've never, like, why is that okay to say that publicly?
I don't know, but his wife, based off her haircut, really could use a gay friend or two.
That's hilarious. That's great.
That is.
No, but what I wanted to ask is, when you first started, was it more of like I got to tell people who I am, or was it kind of like I need to make funny jokes of who I am at first? Like, what was it?
It
'Cause
was
for me, it was about making funny jokes.
right.
And then I was like, I have a responsibility, and I had to figure out the right way to say it and do it the right way to make it relatable, I guess.
Well, I come from a opera performing background, and so when I got on stage at first, it was really a spectacle of singing. I had this one joke. It was my favorite joke, but obviously I've stopped doing it. I'd walk on stage, I'd say nothing. I would sing in my falsetto, "O mio babbino caro." So I'd come out, "O mio babbino caro, mi piace," and then everyone was like kind of awkward, and then I would say, "That's a true story of how I came out to my dad," and it would get like a big laugh. And I would do like Britney Spears impressions and Christina Aguilera impression. It was all kind of like trying to get people to notice me
Yeah.
and stick out. And then slowly but surely, I gave a lot of that up. I mean, I still do impressions and stuff, but like, I think I sang like once this whole weekend. Now it's very much about the jokes. When I first came out, it was like, I liken it to this is how gay I am. I liken it to Mariah Carey's high note. Not necessary for her career. She has an incredible voice without it, right?
Yeah.
But with that super high note, that's what everybody talked about. And then they could listen to her music and realize, oh, this bitch is great, right? So that's kind of the approach I took. I was like, I'm going to make a spectacle, blow everybody out of the water with my impressions and my singing, and then get the attention and then work on the jokes.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't recommend.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. That's how you first started. Your stand-up was more of it was kind of like your musical talents first, right?
Yes. I mean, I would do Christina Aguilera singing the alphabet. So of course it's like the letter A would go on forever to say, "Ah!" And then like 20 minutes later, like B, very like basic, jokes about singers and stuff. But it kind of worked. I mean, people definitely remembered me.
Yeah, no, that's how that's how it is for us to trying to we're just trying to see if it's funny, and then we start figuring out, okay, I need to start telling stories.
Right. Right. Well, especially too, Chicago's a great place to start. I'm born and raised in Chicago, so starting stand up in Chicago, looking back, it's an incredible scene with incredible talent and great stage time. But Chicago versus New York is way more experimental. So you could go on stage and you could be as weird and as wacky as you wanted. And so there was really a whole spectrum of comics getting on stage. When I moved to New York, it was almost like it felt like everyone was in a straitjacket. It was like joke, 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 joke. So I kind of blended the two and figured out I better write jokes quick. Open mics in New York are only 2 minutes long. But also when I get a little more stage time, still have that sort of theatricalness to myself. So people do pin me that, oh, you are a Chicago comic.
Yeah.
But yeah, New York is very jokes. It's about the jokes. They want jokes.
That's cool, man. I'm glad New York opened up. I'm glad you're getting back on stage. And
Thanks, I am too.
I can't wait for this hour, bro. It's gonna be
same. When I sell it, you'll be the first person I call.
Let's go. Matteo Lane, everybody.
Go to MatteoLaneComedy.com for more ticket information.
I love it. And it's also Instagram Matteo Lane, correct?
Yes, it's a lot of nudity in my drawings. So if you don't like either, please don't follow.
I'm telling you guys right now, this is the one. This one's the next one. He's catch him before you can't catch him anymore. He's so talented. He's so funny, and I love him so much, man. And I'm so happy you're on the podcast today, man. That was awesome.
Thanks. I really appreciate you having me on. It means a lot to me.
You're the man, Matteo.
Thanks, bro.
I love you guys. Take care, you guys.